Hello, my friends. I want to talk about something today that is a very commonly asked question, and that is how to structure your training sessions in order to facilitate seamlessness, fluidity, and authenticity. All those things that we're kind of shooting for, right? So I'll start by saying I've always been a home poler, a self-taught home poler. And so I have never trained according to any sort of curriculum given to me by, a teacher or a pole instructor. I have set my training sessions up one way pretty much from day one, and I've stuck to that for the last 10 years. 90% of my sessions, every session, has been freestyle, maybe even 95%. And I think the reason being because the way that I see it is if I can't use this language, use this art form to tell my stories in language that feels authentic to me, then I kind of just don't see the point in it, honestly. And I think freestyle is the most surefire and the most effective way to getting comfortable and really mastering speaking your language and telling your stories. So that's why I freestyle. And that's why whenever students ask me, my answer is almost always freestyle, 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 which I think can be scary for some, rightfully so. It's extremely vulnerable. And even to this day, 10 years later, it feels vulnerable at times for me. I also will say though that fear or the discomfort, it decreases in time. And you have to trust that. It will decrease in time and you will learn to trust yourself more, which is so, so important for worlds beyond pole. You may or may not have realized in this video, or if you've learned from me before, that I like to refer to all things pole and movement as language or in terms of language. So a pole move is going to be a vocabulary word, for example, right? And a flow is going to be a phrase. So as we digest new information, new vocabulary words, new phrases, as we hardwire them into our bodies, we expand our ability to storytell. We expand our lexicon, our vocabulary, right? And not only this, but we expand it in ways that feel natural for our bodies because we're freestyling. We're not watching and regurgitating. We are actually moving in the ways that our body naturally move in our freestyles. So I see something that I like, most often that ends up being on Instagram, and whether it's a vocabulary word, a shorter trick or a move or a phrase, something a little bit longer, and I take it with me into my session. I spend a little bit of time with it. And then the last 90% of my session is, you guessed it, freestyle. Okay. I practice telling stories. I speak my language and I inject this new information, this new word or phrase into my storytelling. This very, very naturally and in a low pressure and kind of fun way takes care of repetition, which can suck otherwise in the form of drills. It takes care of hardwiring it into our bodies so that we find seamlessness, so that we find the ability to embellish without having to be stuck in our heads thinking about what's coming next. And once more, I'll digress after this. It expands our ability to tell stories, right? We have words now for things that we didn't have words for before. All of that being said, for this tutorial, I'm going to give you guys a phrase, and I'll give you two options for it, a more beginner option and then a little bit more of an advanced option. And I would love for you to spend some time with it and then practice storytelling and integrate or inject this phrase into your storytelling. If anybody out there is feeling already intimidated by this, think about just creating a sandwich. So the phrase that I give you is the meat, and your freestyle, your already established natural language is the bread on either side. You're going to freestyle your way into this and you're going to freestyle your way out of it. Set a timer for 20 minutes and just do that again and again and again. Okay. I very much so encourage you to film yourself while you're doing this. Freestyle, like I mentioned, can be intimidating. It can get a little bit heady, a little bit weird. Your videos watching back are going to teach you so much in the case that you're stuck very much so in your head while you're dancing. All right. Okay. No more words. Let's get to this phrase. All right. So our phrase is going to be quite short. Whether you're doing the beginner version or the intermediate version, you'll start in the same place. You'll end up in the same place. I'm going to give you first just a little overview of it, and then we'll talk about the beginner and the intermediate details. So you're going to start here in a strong hold grip. You'll be standing next to the pole. Your inside bicep will be wrapped around the pole. Look at that inside hand. A good place for that to land is going to be about ear level. Okay. Outside hand will be across the face. Yes. And your hips are going to be in front of the pole. Just a quick little review of our stronghold grip, okay? Your weight is gonna stay on your inside leg and you're gonna roll in towards the pole, take the hips off the pole and land on the other side. Yeah? From another angle, we're here. Weight is on my inside leg. I'm gonna roll in towards the pole, take my hips off the pole, and I land on the other side. Now, if you're doing the beginner version of this, we find our starting position. We're in our stronghold grip. Our weight is on our inside leg. My outside leg is going to just angle outward. Okay. Notice I just bent my inside leg. That's going to help me for this move. It can stay bent as I roll in towards the pole. My outside toes will simply drag on the floor as I roll in. So let's roll it in. Drag those outside toes. I'll stop right here, planting those toes on the other side of the pole. And then this will be familiar if you've looked at my other tutorials. You're going to take a little hip swivel, sit your butt back, around, and land on the other side. I'll show you that from another angle. We're here. Weight on the inside leg. I bend that leg. Rolling in towards the pole, I drag my outside toes, plant them on the other side of the pole. Take my hips off, sit my hips back, around, and I land on the other side. Please review or refer to the video down below. I taught you guys a couple weeks ago how to do a hip swivel. That might be helpful if you're a beginner and you want to review. Moving on though, our intermediate version, same starting position, weight on the inside leg. I'm again gonna bend that leg. My outside leg is gonna swing out and around. And once I make it about midway, I'm going to bend, take my hips off the pole, drop the outside toes to the floor, and I land on the other side. Let me show you that from another angle. We're here. Bend the inside leg, outside leg swings out and around. I bend, hips leave the pole. I place those toes on the floor. So those are our phrases. And like I mentioned, really short phrases. So spend a little bit of time with it. Figure out which one you want to work on, which one feels good in your body, and then set the timer and get to freestyling. Again, remember those sandwiches. You're going to just freestyle your way into it and freestyle your way out of it and do that again and again and again. Okay. Just kind of hardwiring this into our bodies for today's session. Again, expanding our vocabulary. If you'd like more of this, I do a lot of this on my Patreon. Okay. I have a whole prompt bank. I consider my entire Patreon actually to be a kind of toolbox, a vocabulary box meant to do exactly what we talked about today, which is expanding that vocabulary. I like to feature prompts to facilitate the freestyles that hopefully ensue after you work on our vocabulary words. So I'm going to link that in the caption below. Go ahead and check it out.